When we talk about love in relationships, we often focus on closeness, connection, and togetherness. But what if I told you that sometimes the real power lies in creating space? The power of space in relationships is often misunderstood because the human mind tends to equate distance with disconnection and space with coldness. Yet, in reality, space is not the enemy of intimacy. It is, in fact, one of the strongest tools to strengthen a bond and deepen emotional closeness. Think about it in this way. When you hold something too tightly, you often crush it. But when you hold it gently, allowing it to breathe and expand, it thrives. Relationships work in a very similar way. When you give her distance, it does not mean you are ignoring her or abandoning her. Instead, it means you're respecting her individuality, her inner world, and her need for personal space. Many people make the mistake of believing that closeness is about being together all the time, sharing every detail, or being available every second. But in truth, closeness is built on a foundation of choice. It is meaningful only when someone chooses to come closer to you out of desire, not out of pressure. If you never allow distance, you also never give her the chance to choose. You become a constant presence, predictable and taken for granted. Space. The meaning of giving someone distance allows her to feel the contrast between your presence and your absence. And it's in this contrast that appreciation grows. Imagine a beautiful piece of music. What makes it powerful is not just the notes, but also the pauses between the notes. Without silence, music is nothing more than noise. In relationships, too, distance creates those pauses that make the connection more meaningful. By stepping back, by not overcrowding her emotional or mental space, you allow the relationship to breathe. This breathing space is what keeps it alive, fresh, and not suffocated under the weight of constant attention. Another way to look at it is through the concept of human psychology. People value what they can miss. If you're always around, there is no chance for longing, no chance for her to realize what she has. But when you give distance, she starts to notice your absence. And with that absence comes reflection. Reflection about what you mean to her, about how much of her life feels different without you, about whether she feels drawn back to you. This process is impossible when you never create space. Constant availability erases curiosity, but distance creates it. Now there's a fine line between healthy space and neglect. Healthy space is intentional, respectful and balanced. It means you are still there but not intrusive. It means you're still connected but not suffocating. You can compare it to a garden. If you water the plant too much, you drown it. If you never water it, it dries out. But if you water it in the right amount, and then let the roots reach deeper for themselves, the plant grows stronger. Relationships flourish under the same principle. Giving her distance is not about abandonment. It is about balance. You see, in every healthy relationship, too, people come together as whole individuals. If you do not allow her to have her own space, her own time, her own experiences, then you are indirectly sending the message that she is not free to be herself, and no one can stay in a place where they feel trapped for long. My personal reflections on space in love, on the other hand, when you allow her to have her space, you give her the freedom to be her authentic self. You are showing her that you trust her enough to step back, and trust is the core foundation of love. Space creates trust, and trust strengthens love. Another powerful effect of space is emotional resetting. In heated moments, arguments, or even just times when feelings feel overwhelming, distance helps to cool things down. When emotions are high, words often hurt. But when you take a step back, it allows both of you to process emotions independently and return to the relationship with more clarity. This cooling off period can prevent damage that constant closeness might otherwise cause. Furthermore, giving her distance can also ignite a sense of self-reflection within yourself. When you are not constantly chasing her attention or trying to manage their relationship every second, you suddenly have time and mental energy to focus on your own growth. And the truth is, the more you grow as an individual, the more attractive you become in her eyes. She sees that you are independent, that you have your own passions and direction, and this creates admiration rather than dependency. By giving her distance, you simultaneously reclaim your own space, and this balance makes the relationship healthier. Let's also consider the natural rhythm of human connection. Every relationship has cycles of closeness and separation. You cannot expect constant intensity without breaks, just as you cannot expect a fire to burn without pauses for the wood to catch. Space allows the fire to rekindle, and authentic, That authenticity in turn becomes the foundation for a healthy, balanced relationship. It is important to remember that women, just like men, have personal dreams, emotional processes, and inner battles. If she feels like she has no room to think, no room to breathe, no room to simply be herself, then the relationship starts feeling like a burden rather than a blessing. By giving her distance, you're saying, "I trust you enough to let you be you." This trust creates a sense of safety. And in relationships, safety is what allows love to flourish. When she feels safe to express herself and safe to retreat into her own space when needed, she will naturally feel closer to you when she returns. Emotional independence also prevents one of the biggest dangers in relationships, losing yourself in another person. Often in the beginning stages of love, people get so immersed in each other that they stop. What happens when you stop chasing love, paying attention to their own personal growth? Over time, this creates imbalance. One person may feel drained because they are always giving, while the other may feel pressured because they're always being watched or expected to provide happiness. The relationship starts to collapse under this invisible weight. But when you create distance, you give both of you the chance to remain whole individuals who come together to share love rather than to fill voids. There is also a psychological element to this. When people have their own emotional independence, they engage in their relationship by choice, not by necessity. Think of how different it feels when someone stays with you because they want to, not because they feel they have no other option. That willingness, that choice creates passion, respect, and admiration. When you give her distance, you give her the opportunity to choose you again. And each time she makes that choice, the bond strengthens far more than it would if she felt forced into constant togetherness. In practical terms, emotional independence shows itself in many ways. For example, she might need time to pursue her own hobbies, spend time with friends, focus on her career, or even just enjoy moments of solitude. If you allow her this without guilt, suspicion, or insecurity, you are demonstrating emotional maturity. On the other hand, if you constantly demand her attention, question her every move, or make her feel guilty for wanting her own space, you are unintentionally pushing her away. Respecting her emotional independence is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of confidence. It tells her that you are secure enough within yourself to let her live fully as emotional growth through silence and waiting herself. But here's the most interesting part. When you encourage her emotional independence, you actually deepen her emotional dependence on the relationship in a healthy way. She begins to associate you with freedom, not restriction. She associates you with growth, not confinement. She associates you with respect, not control. And naturally, she will feel more drawn to you because you are not only her partner, but also the one who empowers her to be her best self. Let's also consider the contrast. When someone is denied their emotional independence, they eventually feel trapped. And when someone feels trapped, they will either rebel or withdraw emotionally. Neither of these outcomes is healthy for love. But when someone feels free within a relationship, paradoxically, they want to stay even more. Just as a bird that is caged longs to escape, a bird that is free often chooses to return to the place it feels safe. Love works in exactly the same way. On a deeper level, giving her distance and honoring her emotional independence also reflects the maturity of your own mindset. It shows that you are not clinging out of fear of losing her, but rather you are standing in confidence that if she loves you, she will remain by your side. That confidence is magnetic. It makes her admire you more because you are showing that your love is not desperate but strong, secure, and steady. And the truth is, women are naturally more drawn to men who embody this kind of inner security. Another key point to understand is that emotional independence does not create distance in the heart. It actually prevents emotional burnout. Without independence, love becomes heavy, what the future might hold demanding and exhausting. But with independence, love remains light, joyful, and renewing. Giving her space to be emotionally independent is like allowing her to breathe fresh air. She will return refreshed with more energy and more love to give. So ladies and gentlemen, when you give her distance, you are not pushing her away. You are empowering her. You are allowing her to connect with herself to recharge emotionally and to bring her best energy back into the relationship. You are strengthening the bond not by holding tighter but by letting her fly freely, knowing she will return. That is the beauty of emotional independence. It is not about separation. It is about building a healthier connection, one that is rooted in respect, trust, and choice. And when two people can love each other from a place of independence rather than dependency, that love becomes unshakable. Ladies and gentlemen, as we bring these reflections to a close, let us understand one simple truth. Love is not sustained by constant control or unending closeness. Love breathes through balance. It grows in the spaces between two people just as final thoughts and message to the viewers, much as it thrives in their moments of togetherness. When you give her distance, you are not creating a wall. You are building a bridge that allows her to walk back toward you by choice. That choice is what makes love authentic. The power of space in relationships teaches us that absence can build appreciation. Emotional independence reminds us that true connection happens only when two whole individuals choose to come together, not when one person loses themselves for the other. And the avoidance of clinginess shows us that respect and trust create attraction far stronger than constant pressure ever could. By allowing her space, you show maturity, patience, and confidence. You tell her without words that your love is secure enough to let her breathe, and your faith in their relationship is strong enough to withstand distance. And what happens next, most often, is not loss, but growth. She feels a deeper desire to return with more love, more respect, and more clarity than before. So remember, love is not about how tightly you hold on. It is about how gently you can let go, knowing that if the bond is real, it will only return stronger. Giving her distance is not a risk of losing her. It is the path to allowing her to choose you again freely and wholeheartedly. That is not just love.